Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and we're specifically going to talk about how we improve ourselves as human beings, in my humble opinion, using the rogue class. How do we run a rogue and find ways to battle the Dungeons and Dragons dragon that Gary warned us against, the five-headed Tiamat, which we are all struggling to reduce the deficiency they cause in our life. We're all struggling to get past the foamy, the FHOMI, right? The fear, the hatred, the oppression, okay? The misunderstanding, the ignorance that we impose on ourselves, and that sometimes forces people, institutions, processes impose on us externally. How do we stop playing Dungeons and Dragons and begin using Dungeons and Dragons to make ourselves better people? In my humble opinion, there's a path forward. This is the method you should use. This is my opinion. At the end of this, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Please consider liking and subscribing. All right, here we go. So we put our player character into place. We as Dungeons and Dragons players, we choose to play rogue, okay? The Dungeon Master goes forward. They begin the narrative. They begin the story. They begin the structure we are going to use to better ourselves, to increase our knowledge, to increase our empathy, to increase our language, to increase our passion, to increase our love, to increase our ability to create art, okay? They will set the canvas, okay? And we're going to begin to apply pigments of our own understanding of our own life to this. First, we're going to do it with rogue. So you enter into a campaign with your rogue. Your dungeon master is not aware of what you're doing. You are going to now explore a critical aspect, okay, of a critical aspect of humanity that the rogue class is specifically tuned by Gary Gygax initially from 1974 forward, right? Now, it was called a thief then. Rogue is a thief. If you're not aware of that, that is the case. Rogue is simply the term we use for thief, okay? Initially, Gary set it down as the thief. Today, Gary's legacy is carried forward in the current version of Dungeons and Dragons, and it's referred to as rogue. So we're going to talk about it as rogue today. So what is the fundamental catalyst? What is the fundamental element of humanity that we use the rogue class to explore? Well, it is acquisition, okay? We are human, okay? Now you're going to play one of many different types of humanoids, but all humans, right, must acquire, okay? So we and I'm talking IRL now, okay? So in our IRL lives, we must acquire. We need food, we need shelter, we need security, and we need raiments, right? Cultures like you have to cover yourself with clothing, raiments. You have to be clad, right? You can't walk around naked. Culture doesn't allow that, right? Our bodies demand food, okay? Because we have a mental health aspect, we need security. We need to know that we're not going to be constantly under attack. If we don't know that, we're going to be under incredible stress, okay? And we need shelter. We need protection from cold, protection from rain, okay? These all must be acquired. Now, a normal human being who does not play Dungeons and Dragons, a muggle, right? They have to do these experiments in real time, right? How do I acquire, right? And the only pattern they have to move forward is what society gives them. What does society give them? Society gives them, join the rat race and get some of that paper currency, and then purchase all your goods from merchants, right? And there are a lot of ways to acquire things. Right now, one of the biggest experiments that's happening IRL is crypto, right? People are like, do I really need those stupid pieces of paper? What if I just had long strings of numbers, right? And that's an experiment that's being run. That's a pattern, right? Previously in history, people are like, I'm not going to give somebody, like just some, why use this currency? Why not just barter? I have a chicken. You know how to pull a tooth. Let's get this done, right? So, what Rogue allows us to do is look at all the myriad ways of acquiring, okay? So you're going to go into this campaign, and what you're doing, your Dungeon Master thinks you're having fun at the table. There's a lot of people out there who just have fun with Dungeons & Dragons. It's the lowest form of use of Dungeons & Dragons, in my humble opinion. The most shallow players and shallow Dungeon Masters approach Dungeon Mastering and Dungeon Dragons playing from the perspective of fun, thinking that's the end goal. I don't think that's what, in my humble opinion, that's never what Gary intended. All right, so Gary Gygax. All right, so basically, so we move forward into this and we begin to use the Rogue. So what does the Rogue allow us to do from the perspective of acquisition? Okay, it's really fascinating. Right? So first of all, a rogue can adventure. They have a skill set. They can disarm traps. So an adventuring team might attach them to the team, right? Take them down into the dungeon. They bring up 100 gold pieces. And they go, great job, rogue. Here's 25, let's say it's a bog standard core 4 team, right? Fighter, wizard, cleric, rogue, right? They're like, hey, here's your 25 gold pieces. Thank you very much. The rogue has now acquired 25 gold pieces. That's bog standard. We all know how to do that. We know how to work, earn, and then apply what we've earned to get things from merchants. That can be, so that's one thing you can explore in Dungeons & Dragons. Is there a way to get more money, right? Can you, could be like, hey, I know there's 4 of us, we got 100 gold, but can I get 35? And here's the reason why. There's experimentation that can be done right there, even with the bog standard life process, the IRL process, which is totally available to experiment with the rogue in Dungeons & Dragons, right? But here's where it gets interesting. The rogue has many other ways to acquire. The rogue has sleight of hand, okay? So they walk past any non-player character, and one of those items can instantly, effortlessly, immediately, silently, secretly shift possession, right? So that NPC has 50 gold, right? Now you have 50 gold. No discussion, right? Your rogue has taken 50 gold from a non-player character, okay? You have 50 gold. They no longer have that. You have done acquisition. But what's the questions around it? What is the morality around it? Well, Gary Gygax made sure that we, to this very day, have a way to answer morality questions within Dungeons & Dragons. If that was a lawful evil adventurer who burned down a village at the behest of some, arch lich, then you taking that 50 gold is 100% acceptable, right? A lawful good rogue could do that, okay? Right? They could steal from the villainous who have taken from the weak and make it their own. There's no ethical question there, right? Wait a second. What if it's just a rival adventure and you're doing it not even to take the 50 gold, right? What if you have a rival adventurer who just got 25,000 gold on their last adventure? They're not going to miss 50, but it's embarrassing to them, right? That's the paladin, and you've embarrassed them when they go to pay the stable hand, and they're like, oh, that rogue got my, it's just fun. No, that paladin ain't gonna care that 50 gold is out of his pocket. He's got 25,000, right? But the embarrassment is a thing, and acquisition becomes a question. Who is it appropriate to take from, right? And we're doing these experiments IRL right now, right? Orville, right? Orville steals everything it possibly can from Star Trek, okay? Specifically from Star Trek Next Generation. Orville has thieved scads of story elements, spaceship design elements, work structures, like literally titles from Star Trek Next Generation. Now, why didn't Paramount just sue them and say, hey, you thieved this from us? Because America made a quite literal contract and said, you can steal elements from another show as long as it's parody. As long as there is this parody makes theft okay. There's a lot of fancy words around it, but in my humble opinion, that's exactly what it is. The rogue allows you to ask questions in real time at the table with actions that have far less consequences on the real world. You could do an IRL, question of, oh, if I take $50 out of this person's wallet and they never know it because I have sleight of hand, the risk on that is tremendous. You could end up going to jail. But in a Dungeons and Dragons game, that question of acquisition, who is it appropriate to steal from? Who is it not appropriate to steal from? When I have stolen something, right? Who do I get? Who gets it? Do I give it to myself? Do I give it to my closest friends and family, like an adventuring team? Do I give it to people I don't even know, like a Robin Hood type situation? And again, Robin Hood, there was combat, there was incredible danger, right? But Gary Gygax created Dungeons and Dragons, which, in my humble opinion, gives us this incredibly safe narrative canvas to ask these questions and get real answers back, and to ask important life questions about acquisition and see what consequences are and see what methods are, right? And so you are going to learn far more about acquisition than any normal human being is capable of. They don't have the time, they don't have the safety, they don't have this incredibly innovative, safe, beautiful, fun way, right, to explore this aspect of their humanity, their acquisition. But you do, right? So you are going to explore your humanity. You are going to explore this key aspect of humanity, acquisition. How do we acquire? What are the methods? What is appropriate? What is ethical? What is lawful? What is useful? What is right? What is wrong? You, because you are a Dungeons & Dragons because you are a Dungeons & Dragons player, have an advantage over regular Muggle humans who don't have this, right? And don't have Dungeons & Dragons in life. You have the ability to delve deep into yourself, right? And to come up with the treasures of wisdom and learn about yourself and learn about humanity overall. That is how, in my humble opinion, you do the path of optimum human exploration by class. That's how you do it, in my humble opinion. What's your thought? What do you think? Was there anything about acquisition that I missed? Are there any moral questions that you think you already know the answer to, right? Because you've learned it in Dungeons & Dragons. Any of those things, I'd love to hear in the comments below. Please consider like a shrine and have a wonderful millennium.